Welcome to Sweet Spot. On today's menu, we're going to be making cutout sugar cookies. No fancy spices, basic butter and vanilla. This is my favorite cutout cookie recipe. But rather than just baking them with sprinkled sugar on top, very lovely, we're going to bake these naked. Am I allowed to say that? When these plain cookies come out of the oven, we're going to let them cool, and then we're going to cover them with royal icing. And then when that's firm, we're going to pipe some simple designs. It turns a basic but delicious sugar cookie into a wow. Hey, let's get started. We stir in our baking soda and salt into our flour. We will need a ½ pound of room temperature unsalted butter, a cup of sugar, and 2 teaspoons of good vanilla, along with 2 eggs. Give the eggs a quick whisk, add the vanilla, and another quick whisk. Put the butter in a bowl of a stand mixer and beat it. Next in is the sugar. Cream this mixture well. Add the eggs and vanilla mixture. Again, mix very well. Take your time. We'll add the flour to this in 2 steps. Add about half the flour and mix until incorporated. Then repeat with the remaining flour. The dough will need to be refrigerated to firm up for rolling. Split the dough in half and wrap with waxed paper into 2 bundles. We'll put these into the fridge until firm, about 2 hours, or if using later, keep them in there for a few days. If you want to prepare the dough way in advance, you can actually freeze these, but make sure they're wrapped tightly. Once firm, unwrap and roll. Dust your rolling surface with flour. I'm using a roll pad to ease cleanup. You'll find a link to the roll pad in the description below, but feel free to roll directly on your counter. I'm using a French-style rolling pin with slightly tapered ends. My favorite. I love it. But use your favorite rolling pin. Roll these as thin as you'd like. I prefer pretty thin cookies and am rolling these about 1/8 of an inch thick. Cut the cookies. Flour the cookie cutter and you'll find the dough less likely to stick to it. Put the cookies on a baking sheet. I strongly suggest using parchment paper. I love parchment paper. And repeat, using up all your dough. Into a 350-degree oven for about 10 minutes, or until the cookies just begin to brown. Let them cool on a cooling rack. The icing we'll be using is a royal icing that has been thinned enough to spread. It's powdered sugar, meringue powder, warm water, and always lemon juice. Follow the directions on the can, but add the lemon juice to introduce some flavor. You'll thank me. Use a stand mixer or a hand mixer, you pick. Once mixed, you'll want to add additional water a little at a time until the icing is soft but doesn't spread. It'll take several iterations of adding water, but do this gradually so you don't end up with soup. Prepare a piping bag with a coupler and a number 2 tip. See the link in YouTube for a description of these. Load the bag about half full and cover your icing bowl with a damp towel to prevent drying out. Outline your cookies. The icing should gently flow from the bag but retain its shape. If it's not the right consistency, you may need to dump it back in the bowl for an adjust. And voila! With the remaining icing, or a portion of it, we want to turn it into flood consistency. We do this by adding a little water and mixing, checking it out, and repeating until the icing flows like honey, not too wet and not too thick. Another piping bag with a number 3 or 4 tip. Put the prepared bag into a glass to make this task a little less challenging. Don't overfill the bag. Now we want to flood the cookies. With the right icing consistency, it won't pour over the edges of the beautiful borders we just piped, but it will fill in the cookie. Touch up where needed. Let the flood icing firm a bit, maybe 30 minutes, maybe 60. Lots of easy decorating options for your wow. One option is adding silver dragées to the tips of the cookies. Or, with the outlining icing, not the flood, we can pipe an outline on top of the flood with as much or as little detail as you have patience. If the outline melts into the flood, let the cookies firm up more before proceeding. Adding tiny little dots is quick and easy. Or simple zigzags from the tips to the center. With or without the dragées. Or, with a little more patience, fake Cornelli lace. Keep the lines from touching. Or just sprinkle with colored sanding sugar while the flood icing is still a little wet. It's that time, taste test time. Very pretty cookies. A couple comments. These little silver balls, pronounced dragée or dragée, they're a decoration, not a confection. I'll say that again. It's a decoration, not a confection. Don't eat them. I don't know if the ones they sell in a supermarket are edible or not. They're not legal for sale in California, but I'll tell you, they sure look pretty. Just pluck them off, tell the kids not to eat them first, or don't use them. They also make white ones, or call it pink or green, blue ones. You can use those instead. I think they're edible. Read the container. So let me pick one. This one with the fake Cornelli lace. If you like royal icing, you'll like these. It's tart, it's crispy, They're pretty. They're good. They're very sweet. Not my personal favorite. It's got a nice bite to it. It's toothsome. Kids will love these. If you have a true sweet tooth, you'll love these. They're more substantial than just a cutout cookie for certain. One of my goals for this episode of Sweet Spot is to show how you can make a pretty simple cookie, the most basic of recipes, and dress it up. Make it a wow cookie. You can either have a tray of these or just put a few on a tray of other cookies that you have, or alongside of a dessert. They get people's attention because they're pretty. And it really isn't that hard to make. A couple steps. If you don't think you can do the piping, sprinkle the colored sugar just on the royal icing. If you don't think you can do the royal icing, just do the plain cookies. This is an excellent, excellent sugar cookie recipe. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe. The button's down there. The recipe is in the description below. Give us a thumbs up. Tell your friends. Hey, this is it for Sweet Spot.